What's going on, everyone? Today we're here with Colleen Dagg. Now, yesterday we posted a story about her confronting and defending herself from a racist lady, and we wanted to ask her a few questions about that. So, Colleen, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Colleen. So the camera caught a certain part, but what did the camera did not catch that led up to the confrontation with the alleged pregnant woman?
Me riding down the elevator. I came out of the elevator and I overheard a woman talking to the clerk about how there were too many wet floors around the hotel, that they needed to do something about it. You know how these Haitian people are. Like she was inferring, I guess Haitian people are more likely to fake slip and fall and try to sue somebody. To me is what it meant. I don't really see how it could have meant anything else. So I kind of like walked out, thought about it for a second. I walked back in and I stand beside her and I asked her calmly, you know, did I hear you clearly? And she basically told me not to worry about it because I'm not black. Um, you know, anybody that's interviewed me on this, I've told them like the woman was in my face pretty much the whole time. I don't really like recall the shit that she was talking to me, excuse my language. Because she was in my face and I was just kind of like in defense mode. I wasn't really trying to go back and forth with her. I was just trying to leave and she kept obstructing my pathway. So then when I wouldn't follow her outside, that's when I went and sat down in the chair and started taking my shoes off. But I remember at one point, she went to there was a bunch of Haitian people. There was a soccer tournament going on at the hotel. There was a bunch of Haitian boys there with their families, and there was a church service going on too. And there were some people sitting around in like a waiting area over to the side, and she went over to them and tried to like justify what she was saying. The reason that I said something to her. She asked him, aren't Haitian people more likely to sue somebody? It's something along the lines of that. And that's when the gentleman got up. That's the man that you saw in the video. And that's when he got up, and then that's when she started talking about trying to follow her outside because the man was trying to break us up. Then she wanted to move outside. Then when I wouldn't follow her outside, she took that as I didn't want to fight her. So then she started being like 10 times more aggressive, and then I sat down in the chair, and then, you know, that's when the video started. But I think that guy was actually a sheriff because I remember when the police got there, he came out there and pulled his badge out and told the police what happened. They still did their little investigation and just went around and watched everybody's videos and watched the lobby video. And then they just let me go. I didn't press any charges or anything like that on her.
Okay, so when she originally told you that you're not black, so basically, in so many words, why do you care so much? How did you really take that?
That's what I was speaking to you about on the phone prior to the interview. I'm sorry if I wasn't supposed to say that, but it's just like they look at it like, why do you have a problem with it? Like we're the ones. Like, what do you mean? You know, it's just she doesn't expect me to have a problem about it because I'm white too. Like you'll notice. I was telling my friend about this the other day. You'll notice with white people, like you'll meet somebody and like, you know, after a couple days or however long, you know, knowing them at some point they'll, if they're racist, they'll drop the N word like in conversation or what, just little hints just to see where you're at with it. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean, and I'm glad you're trying to educate, our audience about it because, I'm not white, obviously. But
Yeah.
so you said that usually they try to test other white people by either with racial slurs or maybe racist jokes, possibly.
Like how the lady was saying to the clerk, you know how these Haitian people are. It's like you're white too, like you know what I'm talking about. That's how she was coming across. You know,
Now, let me ask you a question. Based on what you've seen in your life, with other Caucasian people within your community, how often does it happen about, with the racism?
it really just depends on where you live at. I mean, you know, it really just depends on where you live at. I think I've experienced it pretty much mostly in South Carolina.
Other white people will talk to white people and they're listening to them, but let's say I was to say something to them, then they probably would dismiss me or be more aggressive.
Right. I'm not gonna say they're gonna sit. That's like the 100% solution, but it's a start. I mean, some people are just ignorant. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, if I would have been there with my biracial baby, you know what I mean? Somebody might not listen to my white privilege, cause I'm crossed out. You know what I mean?
So, due to you admitting that you have a child that with a black person, obviously, did you feel more personally offended what she was saying due to your child?
Of course, of course. I mean, my mother always talks about how she was a ER nurse for 30 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's not gonna make the newspapers. She's not Mother Teresa, but you go about, you don't have to be an activist or anything like that, but you go about your daily life. If you see something that's wrong, you know what I mean? It's your job to make a change where you can.
You're right. You don't have to be a full-fledged activist to do anything. It just everyday people can just do the right thing and stand up for what's right and shun what's wrong. How would you feel? You other white people watching possibly this interview, and they may feel more encouraged to stand up because of what they saw in the video. What would you say to them?
And that's awesome if I can spark a change. You know what I mean? But there's always a flip side to the coin.
And what is that flip side?
I mean, I don't know. Like I said in the post disclaimer, I mean, people don't want to hear it. People want to think how they think. I mean, it's just some people that ain't grown enough, and they'll never be grown enough to accept, that their thinking may be flawed in some way, or it might just be the way that you're raised, that you're supposed to learn and grow. People don't want to hear that. It's like some people really think that you're born into the world and what you know is what you know, and it's just like some people can't be moved. You know what I mean? So just be careful.
I definitely agree with that 100% because what I do and definitely what I try to put out there, I fight against people all the time. Definitely do not want to hear the truth.
I want to say though, I kind of feel some type of way about the last statement that I just made. It's a lot of black people that have stood up and put their life on the line, standing up for racism. So just do what you got to do, because it's got to come to a breaking point eventually. I'm not like trying to incite a riot or anything like that, but just do the right thing. Just quit being so scared to get in people's business. It's nothing for you to clarify on what somebody said. You know what I mean? I went up to the lady and asked her, did I hear you correctly? You know what I mean? That's not disrespectful. There's nothing wrong with asking somebody, did I hear you right? You know what I mean? And that gives you an opportunity to engage in a conversation with the person. You know what I mean? So
I know exactly what you mean. And the only difference with you confronting her versus, let's say, if it was another black girl confronting her, the police would have probably acted a little bit more rough handling a little bit with a black girl. Or
that also makes it our responsibility too.
Right, because they'd have been calling her, all kind of nasty words that they would say about black girls. Say, oh, these black people are violent, but black people get offended all the time when people like that start things like that. And I always coined it aggressive victim behavior, because what she did to you was be extremely aggressive. Then when you start, as I stated before, delivering the fist of justice to her, all of a sudden now she's a victim and she's pregnant. So it just always amazed me, those kind of people. Colleen, I definitely want to thank you for joining the show today and just letting us know your position on everything. How can people find you if they would like to contact you?
You know, I just made a Facebook account. It's under Becky Knuckles, and I trademarked that name. So I guess I'm gonna go with that for my social media. But right now, my Twitter is Dagg94. My Instagram is just Colleen Dagg, I believe. I hope that's right.
All right. Well, make sure everyone that if you want to contact Becky Knuckles, that in itself is funny. I'm not gonna lie, but it's catchy.